Our next speaker is Laura Gibson, president of the Houston Bar Association. Laura will tell us a little about the state of access to justice in Harris County and what the bar is doing to promote better access for the citizens in the greater Houston area. Laura?
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for allowing me to make remarks on behalf of the Houston Bar Association. As Marianne said, I'm honored to be the current president of the HBA. And the purpose of this library was to help struggling young lawyers, and I can report that 33 years ago I was a struggling law student. And I remember very well the Harris County Law Library, which was then at the first floor of the 1910 courthouse. And it was, maybe a 20th of this size. It was tiny. I don't know how they got so many books in there, and people smoked in the library. It was very interesting. Now, the Houston Bar Association is very delighted to be part of this Centennial Celebration. As Joe told you earlier, the first president of the Houston Bar Association was Peter Gray. And one of our initiatives this year is to celebrate Peter Gray and his pro bono representation of a slave named Emmeline. She was a freed slave, and in 1870, Mr. Gray agreed to represent her on a pro bono basis. He posted the $250 TRO bond that was required to keep Jesse Bowles, the man who purchased her at a slave auction, from removing her from the state of Texas. $250 was a lot of money back then, and he posted it with his own money. I've had the great fortune to go over to Baker Botts. You know, the Houston Bar Association is having an opera, as I mentioned, and it's in partnership with Baker Botts in celebration of their firm anniversary, and also the Houston Grand Opera, as well as communities and schools. And I got to look at some of Baker Botts' books, and they are true treasures. Peter Gray clearly had a love of books, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that the HBA created a county law library committee, or that the HBA had this library as a tool to the lawyers in this community. But boy, instead of paying dues to be a member now, this is a tremendous resource that's available free to the lawyers and the members of our public. Marianne has told me that they actually have several lawyers who practice law here on a daily basis. You know, that's actually starting to sound pretty appealing to me, having paid rent for so many years. I think that the Houstonians can be very proud of the pro bono work that the lawyers in Houston do. The Houston Volunteer Lawyers is the pro bono arm of the HBA, and it was founded in 1981. And since that time, it has provided service to over 500,000 people in our community. Other legal aid organizations in Houston partner with the Houston Volunteer Lawyers, and that's actually one of our initiatives this year, is to realize that lawyers have a lot of different ways in which they can provide pro bono service outside of the Houston Volunteer Lawyers. And so we're working on strengthening those partnerships. October is a perfect month to celebrate this Centennial Celebration because it's also Pro Bono Week. Paulette Brown, who's the current president of the ABA, has challenged local bar associations throughout the country to show that we can make justice happen. And that's during the week of October 25th through the 30th. And not to be outdone, the Houston Bar Association is not waiting until then to celebrate Pro Bono Week. We actually have a collaborative law seminar that's next week. Alyssa Gomez, who is the executive director of the Houston Volunteer Lawyers, is just a dynamo, and she has created so many ideas for us to show how we make justice happen. Marion has already referred to our self-help divorce clinic that we'll have in the basement on October 30th. Many of you may know that the Houston Volunteer Lawyers has staffed a pro bono booth on the 17th floor of the new Civil Justice Center, where pro se litigants can go get advice about family law matters. And on October 30th, we'll be having that family law clinic. It'll be downstairs in the new space. The space is not quite done, but I would encourage you to go check it out before you leave today. It's a really nice big room that can be partitioned into two different rooms. So our judge's lunch that we'll have during Pro Bono Week is on the Thursday of that week, and it'll be down in that space. I understand there's an event October 13th.
I
The week of the 13th, so the space has to be completed by then. But on a monthly basis, the HBA will be holding these family law seminars where instead of having a booth on the 17th floor, we actually have 2 volunteer lawyers who have individual offices where they can meet with clients. There's also a really big waiting room where they can wait and be comfortable. They can access the computer research upstairs here, and importantly, there are some children's books that are part of the Harris County library that are over here so that people can look at those books and have their children review them while they're waiting for legal assistance. Now, we really are appreciative of Vince Ryan for dedicating this space and allowing the Houston Bar Association and the Houston Volunteer Lawyers to provide these resources to members of our public. We look forward to continuing the strong relationship that we have had with the Harris County Law Library. And I want to especially recognize Stuart Gagnon, who's been a leader for many years, not only in the provision of pro bono services, but the efforts of the County Law Library. Additionally, I want to recognize Justice Busby as well as Justice Huddle, who are the 2 co-chairs of the County Law Library this year. Also, Marion Sears and all the members of the HBA County Law Library Committee. This is truly a space that the public can access for many years to come. And I heard at the ABA meeting in Chicago in July that the cost of legal services are so high that something like 85% of our population, including many lawyers, don't make enough money to get access to justice. And our country was founded on providing access to justice for everyone. And if our courtrooms are only open to those who have money, that's not access to justice. So we need to redouble our efforts to give everyone in our community access to justice. Now I want to turn it... Thank you. I mean, sometimes I think if I were getting one of my bills, I wouldn't be very happy. It's just the system is so inefficient and our world is so complex, and if people can't have access to justice and the resources they can get in this law library, they really are shut out of the courthouse. Now let me turn it over to Justice Brett Busby. Justice Busby is on the 14th Court of Appeals, and just this week he was elected by his peers to serve as the judicial liaison to the board of the State Bar of Texas. And he's going to introduce our keynote speaker, Justice Nathan Hecht. Thank you.